Hi everyone, welcome to another brand new episode of Women of Community Banking podcast, and we've got Melissa today with us. Hi Melissa, how are you doing?
I am good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure, Melissa. Yeah, today is good. Just midweek blues. Midweek, I would say Wednesday blues. Waiting for the week to end. Also excited for the day. So it's like a mixed bag feeling, is what I can say.
There you go. Perfect for a Wednesday.
Absolutely. Quick introduction. Who Melissa is? I think she doesn't need an introduction. She's quite popular, right? But still, I'll do a quick introduction. Yeah, you're like, okay, let's go ahead. So Melissa is the Chief Operating Officer. She's the CEO of Cooperative Credit Union Association, one of the major leagues of credit unions in this country. But obviously, she has very focused, sharp goals. What she does, she's focused towards helping credit unions grow, innovate, and navigate broad three pillars in the complex ecosystem that we are right now in be it macroeconomic, be it the fierce competition that we are facing from the external ecosystem. So that's her one and only goal is three pillars. Quick background: who she is before coming into the league. She was working with St. Mary's Bank, the first credit union in the country. All of us know. She's again very similar to my background. Have come to the credit union ecosystem after a few years after falling in love with it. Right, exactly like me. She spent considerable amount of years doing consulting for healthcare industry, and then she finally found a love for the credit union and started joining the ecosystem altogether. So she stays in New Hampshire with her husband, son, and two dogs. That's really interesting. And one starkingly different thing that I found from her journey is, by the way, she's a retired baseball coach. Guys, this
Right?
is serious. I mean, we're just having a discussion that I hate to call you a retired baseball coach. You should still do it, but she's too busy for that. So
I,
she's
I
like,
have a hard
me
time
for
reaching
you.
the outfield now. I'm getting a little bit too old. My son's a little bit too old now, but it was a good run.
So that's pretty much Melissa. Quick introduction. In case I've missed anything, why don't you go ahead and add it?
No, you did a great job. Like very happy to be here. And yeah, as you had mentioned, the CCUA, the Cooperative Credit Union Association, we are a four-state league, so we advocate for and support credit unions in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Delaware. We have about 100 and just north of 165 credit unions that are members with our association, and we've got a small staff, but we definitely work hard to support them and support the industry as a whole. So I've been here about 4.5 years now, so it's been a good run so far.
Absolutely. I mean, it's because of people like you, we still feel we are united. Trade unions still feel that there's a huge momentum in the motion. We have to bring all of them together and talk about their dream and vision. That's what you do and help them navigate, right? That's pretty much amazing. So, Melissa, one quick question to start with, right? I love asking this question to everyone. I would love ask the same question to you. Now, obviously, working with a association that has one north of 165 credit unions, it's a huge work. Lobbying for them, looking at their interest, talking to them regularly. So, what keeps you going? I mean, I'm very sure that your calendar even looks worse than mine. So, what keeps you going altogether?
It is busy. It is busy, that's for sure. You know what? I think the answer to the what keeps me going is different now, maybe than it was even just 4 years ago when I was just starting with the CCUA. I would say what keeps me going is some of the progress that we've seen over the past few years. The CCUA has gone through a bit of a transformation, and we have been able to introduce some products and services through partnerships to our credit unions that are enabling them to really innovate, compete, and grow and thrive. So I think we are really starting to see the impact of some of that, which is obviously very critical at this time. A lot of challenges facing the industry, just as the evolution has happened over the past few years. The industry is different and it continues to change. But again, I think we've seen some some successes within the league, and there's a lot more to do though. So I think what keeps me coming is keeps me going, I should say, is really looking and seeing some of the progress we've made, but knowing that there's a lot more that needs to happen. And the league system in particular is evolving pretty rapidly. We are becoming, in my opinion, more collaborative, which I think is just a good thing for the movement in general and for credit unions across the country. So that keeps me going, looking ahead and thinking about what we can do when we work together with our peers.
Well, absolutely, Melissa. I mean, that's the reason I thought of asking a very relevant question to you. The next question would be, with such a diverse organization, focused on goodwill, what are the top three priorities of CCUA right now that you want to talk about or you're focusing for this year?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I think if you were to ask this question of any of the other leagues in the country, the number one priority of our league is advocacy. So we advocate for our credit unions at the state and local level, but also at the federal level as well with our partners at America's Credit Unions. We have a very, very strong advocacy team at the CCUA. That is not my area. However, I work very closely with our advocacy team as they engage our credit unions to really, really impact change as it relates to the credit union industry as a whole. And that is our number one priority. And there are some new things that are on the table in 2025 that I think will really make that team even more focused on particular issues than they have been in the past. So very engaged advocacy and continuing that is number one and always number one. The two other priorities, and I will speak a little bit more for myself than directly for the CCUA. One area, and we spoke about this a little bit briefly in one of our prior conversations, and that is the number of small credit unions and what is happening with some consolidation in the industry. And we could talk for a day about what does that consolidation mean, both for individual credit unions, for their members, and for the industry as a whole. However, what I am really hoping we can do as an association is figure out how to support our small credit unions in a way that lets them make the appropriate moves that they want to make in order to serve their members the best. Now, that may be the best interest of that credit union and that member community is to merge with another credit union. That may be the case. We want to be there to support them if that is the case. It may mean making different solutions available to them through collaboration and through the offerings and services that we provide that they may not have been able to attract otherwise, and really helping them move the needle to continue to serve their membership and hopefully grow their membership. We remain committed to that. We do a lot of things for the small credit union community, and we look to continue that. And then the last one is not big, not small credit union focused, but just generally speaking, when I look at our community in our credit unions, credit union leaders and credit union team members are so busy. Many are short-staffed. Many are struggling to find the right talent that they need. They are inundated every day with different fintech offerings, different products and solutions that want to provide a demo or want to get their business. And it's challenging for credit unions of all sizes to really whittle that down. So what we would like to do as the association serving these credit unions is help them innovate. So help them understand, what does it mean to become data-driven, so to speak? What does it mean to embark on a digital transformation journey? I have experience in that, given the work that I did at St. Mary's Bank and even some of the prior work before coming into the industry. And I would love to be able to help our credit unions understand that a lot of people are facing the same issue.
Yeah.
It's challenging to understand which suite of products should I implement? What's the best way to really achieve my strategic objectives? So really looking to be able to help credit unions strategize and plan and then execute on some of those plans in order to make sure, obviously, the industry as a whole continues to thrive, but also to make sure that credit union can sustain and grow as well. So that's the best way to, I think, give back to our credit unions so that they can therefore give back to the communities that they serve.
Absolutely, Melissa. So with the current headwinds that are coming on, or the year's competition with the fintechs, neobanks, challenger banks, even the big banks, right? So
Yep.
there has to be a guidance or a guiding body to help credit unions implement products and solutions that will help them leapfrog from X to Y. Otherwise, it's a wild goose chase. I mean, literally, I've met 25 companies, 25 firms who talk about we do AI in the last month. I'm like, okay, so what next? I mean, all of them talk the same. So show me actual fungible use cases. Show me actual impact, and then we talk, right? I mean, it's getting muddied, right? And there's a very important need for an organization like CCUA who can vet, bring in fintechs who are actually there to provide value to credit union. So what
Sure.
you're doing out there, fantastic, right? So there's no doubt about it, it's fantastic.
Right.
So thank you again for doing this for the movement. It's not easy. I
Right.
know, I mean, I do almost the same thing. It's not easy. It's about just
No.
helping our partners go on a sustainable and secure growth, right? That's what we're to do
Sure.
altogether. Now, obviously, I want to talk about your journey a bit, right, Melissa? I mean, you've spent like years altogether, very similar. We've talked about that. Both of us come from outside, and hence, possibly both of us have that uh, outward-facing view because we've seen the ecosystem from outside. We
Sure.
were in healthcare. I was doing consulting across multiple verticals, healthcare, retail, etc. So let's talk about your journey. How has been your journey so far? I mean, starting with healthcare, moving to credit union,
Sure.
now at an advocacy role. So how has the journey been so far?
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's been quick. It feels like I've been both in the credit union ecosystem for a really long time, and it feels like I just came yesterday. So it's interesting how that can happen. But as you mentioned, did not start in credit union world or financial services. I have an engineering degree that I did apply for a little while. I worked for the Department of Defense for a bit, but then switched into the consulting world. And I worked in a variety of different industries, ending in healthcare. So did a lot of public sector work, federal and local governments both, all centered around technology. I did a lot of large scale system development, design, and some implementation and conversion work. So all from a consultant angle, overseeing teams of developers and business analysts. I was in Washington, D.C., actually working with a client of mine. I was a consultant, and just tough doing the travel, as you mentioned. I think before I live in New Hampshire, have a young at the time. My son was young, and just didn't necessarily want to be on the road as frequently as I needed to be. So I just it's all about connections. I got a call from someone I had worked with previously who said that her boss was looking for a project manager who could come oversee a core conversion. So it was in New Hampshire, very close to where I lived. It was not a travel position, and I didn't necessarily know what a core conversion was. However, I just pictured taking one system out and replacing it with another system, which I had done before. So I thought this is a great opportunity. And that opportunity was with St. Mary's Bank. I did not know, I think I was working for St. Mary's Bank for a few months before I realized it was actually a credit union and not a bank. I didn't even know what a credit union was necessarily. So that was a little bit
Interesting.
eye-opening, and there were, I could talk for days and days about that core conversion and what we did and what that led to in terms of my career and my experience. But that was my first step into the credit union world, and have been there ever since. It's a great organization, as you mentioned, the nation's first credit union. So what a great place to start a credit union career. I should say the tail end of my career, since I got a bit of a late start there. But yeah, it was a great experience. They're thriving now. We did a lot of work when I was there, building out a data warehouse with a partner of ours and really kind of launching their data analytics practice, which led me to a lot of the work that I do now with the Cooperative Credit Union Association, and trying to help other credit unions think about their data journey and what type of solutions they can implement as well to help them move forward.
I mean, that's a proof, Melissa. I think everything happens for a reason, right? I mean, both of us accidentally came into credit unions. I mean, I was just given a credit card by a credit union CEO. That's the way how I got to know what credit unions are. And look at you, you didn't even know St. Mary's Bank was a credit union. You thought it's a bank, right? And then you
Of
realize
course.
it's a credit union months back. This is a really funny story, but that's the way how life happens, right? Interesting, interesting. Now, obviously, life has not been a bed of roses. You're a kid to raise, a family to raise, two dogs plus work, changing jobs. Talk about challenges that you face, because again, this podcast, Melissa, is not very rosy. It's about just talking
Sure.
unfiltered. So let's talk about some challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them.
Sure. No, and I think the challenges that most people face, most adults working, especially working at a certain level when they get to be at a certain point in their career, it's just the balance, and what's the right cadence. I had mentioned earlier about, oh, what keeps you going? Well, there's still more to do. There's still more to do. There's always going to be more to
Yes.
do. And
Yes.
a manager of mine, I remember, said to me once, you need to appreciate what you have done, at least for a little while, before constantly tackling the next thing that you want to do that needs to be done. So I think the challenges that I have had is just um, being able to do exactly that, and to say, okay, I'm going to set a cadence for how hard I am going to go after something, or how many new things I am going to take on. And I think, as we all know, taking on too many, having too many balls in the air, whatever cliche expression we want to use, it leads to definitely some challenges. Especially, I'm finding the older I get, the more tired I get. So it's that has, I think, been a big challenge. And again, I am absolutely not unique in this. There are very, very many executives in our industry who are knocking it out of the park and working around the clock to really kind of continue to make things moving forward. So just keeping things in check has been a little bit of a challenge. And the one other challenge I would say, and I think it's a little bit specific to the credit union industry, and that is just in this particular decade. And I've done the research of, well, what about prior decades? What were the new things that got, oh, there was digital banking. Oh, there was this, there was that. A lot of technological advancement. I feel like the past, call it 5 to 10 years, that has exploded. If you look at the
Yes.
number of fintechs that existed 10 years ago, and the number of fintechs not only that exist now, but that are constantly knocking on the doors of our credit unions. We went from fintechs are competition, they're challenged, we need to be afraid of them, to they have to be your best friend. And if you do not partner with them, you're not going to be able to succeed and continue to serve your membership. We have a new demographic that's coming into the workforce, therefore, that's coming into potential members for credit unions. Credit unions need to figure out how to leverage technology in order to attract and retain that new generation of membership. And that's a challenge as it is. However, the degree to which the available technology has evolved and changed, and I'm not even talking about AI yet, but just
Yes.
purely the digital tools, that digital first mindset that so many consumers have now, credit unions need to keep up with that. And that, I think, has been a challenge. And I think now, with the introduction of AI, I think there needs to be a lot more education for credit unions. What is AI?
Yeah.
How can it help you? How are you already using it with some of your tools and services? You didn't even know you were using AI, but you are, and really kind of help credit unions navigate that as it continues to evolve. Because I'm sure you know better than anyone the statistics that speak to what degree will AI be implemented across all of our industries in the next 5 years is pretty staggering. So that is definitely a challenge, and I feel that too, because there's always something new to learn. There's always something new to come up. I can't help credit unions if I'm not up to speed on what all of
Yes.
that is, and that has been a challenge, a good challenge, but a challenge as well.
Absolutely, Melissa. I mean, what you talked about, the very pertinent challenges. One is, I don't know whether I should call it CX or MX, consumer experience, member experience, customer experience, all the same at the end of the day, right? So that CX needs to be really thought about now,
Right.
because I mean, I'm 31. I mean, I still deny that I'm 32. I mean, I'm still 31. Okay, so at least attracting people at my age. I mean, we are the next gen consumers, right? The college kids are the next gen consumers who will park their deposits, if not now, but throughout the life
Right.
span.
Right.
how to attract, again to your point, how to attract younger generations, how to
Sure.
be sleek, trendy, and sexy in
Right.
experiences. How can I open up an application of a credit union,
Sure.
and how can I submit my an application for checking account in under 3 minutes? I can
Right.
go to Chime and I can do it, right? But can I
Yeah.
do for an average credit union? Maybe yes, maybe no. But I
Sure.
mean, those are the basic things to even solve for.
Right.
Before we talk about how can we use AI for personalization, hyper personalization, cost reduction, there are 100 different use cases that are there, right? That needs to be implemented, but like one at a time, right? I think these
Right.
are real challenges that you talked about, Parisa, and these really need attention to detail, not just talking about fluff, but actual use cases that has been
Right.
implemented. And what you're doing over there, CCUA, is phenomenal, right? Helping connecting basically demand and supply. You're more of a supply chain, right? Connecting demand and supply and finding the exact right partners who fit into the ecosystem.
Sure.
So that's
And there, I
that's
mean, there are so many partners, and I think it's a matter of kind of filtering that, and not
yes.
necessarily at the exclusion of others, but just to be able to give our credit unions kind of that first look at solutions that may meet their needs. And the credit union league system is not perfect, just like no organization or no system is perfect. And one of the things, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, that we need to do better, and we are doing better now, is the collaboration piece. So in such a virtual world, no two credit unions are created equal, but we're all credit unions, and is a lot of work I know that we are doing within the credit union world to serve our 4 states and the credit unions in our 4 states, that is extremely relevant to credit unions across the country. So, speaking specifically to educational opportunities that our team has been able to put together and deliver, I would love to be able to offer that to credit unions across the country within other leagues, not in a money grab, not in order to generate revenue necessarily, just to really be able to divide and conquer. And similarly, there are other solutions that I'd love to be able to offer to our credit unions provided by some of the other leagues within the system. So I think we're starting to do that a little bit more deliberately, and hopefully we'll get some lift from that effort as well.
And I think that's a fresh perspective, right, Pelissa? I mean, I'm sorry to say there's a lot of money grab that's happening here and there, but at least it's a fresh perspective that you talk about that vetting and getting the right partners. That's you're helping credit unions. You're helping credit unions make the right choices,
Sure.
right? Which is very difficult for especially smaller credit unions of sub billion in size, because vetting them, understanding technology, understanding the relevance, impact, stitching all these, it's not easy. What you're doing right
Right.
now, that's amazing, right? Again, now a question across from your life right now. Obviously, you've seen both the worlds. Actually, you've seen all the three worlds, which I haven't seen yet. You've seen the consulting world, which I was there. Uh, now I work with credit unions. You actually work with a credit union, but I work as a consultant with credit unions. Now you moved, you made a move from credit union to the leagues, and your focus, one and only focus, is advocacy,
Yep.
helping credit unions win. So I have a lot of friends from credit unions who always talk about, how does a role in a league look like? What are the responsibilities, right?
Mhm.
So, do you have any advice for credit union leaders who are in that ecosystem who want to move to this side of the world to help
Sure.
a lot of credit unions succeed together?
Yep. No, that's a great question and a good point. And I will say, and I'm starting to think maybe it's me, but when I left St. Mary's Bank, and I got a phone call from a recruiter to talk about the job at the CCUA. When I left St. Mary's Bank, um, I have to say I wasn't fully knowledgeable about the league system and what the league actually did. And league team members are so unbelievably busy, just like credit union team members are, that it's hard to recognize that, hey, we need to boost awareness and we need to make sure our members are clear of the benefits that they can get from us. And I think we at the CCUA have really been kind of doubling down on that effort to make sure our members are aware. But if I could go back to St. Mary's Bank before I moved into this position, the advice or the message I guess I would give to my then self would be, look at what your particular league has to offer you, has to offer your team, has to offer the credit union industry as a whole. And I think what that will do is really help expose some of the opportunities across the system. And I don't necessarily mean employment opportunities across the system, but opportunities across the system to collaborate with peers, to collaborate with other leagues, and to identify areas that can really help at all levels. It can help at your credit union to move that needle to go after one of those strategic objectives and to grow membership, for example, bring in more loans, bring in more deposits. It can also give you a perspective to look at the credit union industry as a whole and what challenges is the industry facing. We talked about consolidation. What are some of the top issues from an advocacy perspective? So just being I will say, a general credit union educated resource will go a long way in terms of really understanding what the leagues do and what the leagues could do kind of in this next iteration as we look to really collaborate together.
I understand, absolutely. So, a very follow-up question across the movement right now. Uh, it, there are much more smaller credit unions and larger credit unions. That's by the construct of it, right?
Sure.
Now we've been hearing about, or consolidation is something that's inevitable. It'll happen. It's happening, but I don't think that's bad because it gives smaller credit unions to join forces, provide them with innovative, relevant, personalized products and services, which otherwise smaller credit unions will find difficulties.
Right.
So what is your 2 cents on the future of small credit unions
Sure.
altogether?
Sure. Great question, loaded question for sure. And we, as the CCUA, are very committed to helping our small credit unions, and I touched on that before. And we've got some great programs that we're just now launching this year, which is really focused on helping those smaller asset-sized credit unions. That being said, if you look at the history of what's been happening with mergers and consolidations, it's easy to say, oh, this is not good. Small credit unions are being merged out of existence. So for one, I don't think that's happening. There are fewer credit unions than there were last year, the year before, and the year before that, and obviously the decade before that. However, I think as long as we, as a credit union industry, continue to enforce and help credit unions put the needs of their members first. So you cannot serve a community, you cannot serve a membership if you don't exist anymore. And you can't serve that membership as effectively as they need to be served if you can't offer some of the resources. So the best way to offer those resources, to retain those members, to be able to grow that membership could be to combine sources, merge with another credit union, and then grow and expand on those offerings.
Yep.
And I don't, the question, I think a fear could be, oh, we're going to lose our small community focused feel with our membership. That is a challenge. And I think credit unions, especially now, need to really double down on the movement and the mission, which really does put that member first. Not only is that member receiving a good rate, do we have a branch close by? Do we answer the phone when they call? But really being able to show that credit unions care about what the members care about, and that credit unions care about making sure they sustain and are able to continue to serve that member in their footprint and in their community. And small credit unions, whether they merge with a big one or whether they merge with a smaller one, or if they just stay, independent and continue to innovate and thrive, they cannot serve their membership if they don't understand and know their membership. And I think that's where these tools come into play and enable credit unions to leverage all of this rich data that they have and really get to the bottom of what does that member care about? How can I retain their loyalty? How can I grow their presence with my credit union? And that's where I think we talk about those influx of fintechs that do a whole bunch of individual things to really help grow that membership, to help boost member satisfaction, to really be able to offer new products that maybe they couldn't in the past. That's all very critical. And I think understanding, well, how do we do that and how do we scale accordingly is really going to make a difference this year and probably into the next 3 for small credit unions.
That's on point, right? I know we are almost on top of the hour, but I want to end this with one overarching question. Now, this year 2025 is, in my 2 cents, is a bit different than last year. Not like amazingly different, but still looking better, right? With interest rates coming down, but not as down as what we think of. Credit unions are still struggling with liquidity. Deposits is still one. Focus two might be lending, but still, rates coming down. So, what do you think is the priority for 2025, and how does the credit union ecosystem look like this year?
Sure. No, I think it's interesting. Liquidity crisis, I think, has, from what we've heard and seen and research that comes out, has leveled a bit. Rates are definitely not going to come anywhere near where they were before,
Yeah.
but they're probably not going to spike much higher than they are now, and they will most likely start to come down. And that's a very non-committal projection that I've pieced together from really smart economists. Certainly not my area, but as that pertains to credit unions, I think they can maybe look forward to a little bit of stability when it comes to rates and lending, so that they can actually plan their year and be able to predict or forecast, as a better term, what that might look like. In my opinion, I think the one and two big focus points for credit unions, one needs to be that continued evolution as it relates to becoming, digital transformation, growing the amount of innovation that a credit union is able to take on in order to be able to deliver that functionality and that intel from their members back into their operations. So I think that's just even more so than last year. I would reiterate that again. And then in terms of the credit union industry, one of the, or I should say, the overarching element of a credit union is its tax-free status. And that status is what enables them to be able to serve their members to the degree that they are. If that goes away, that will, in my opinion, completely change the landscape of the credit union movement. So that is in new administration this year. Therefore, that is on the table. And I think credit unions, as well as the league system, the entire movement together needs to be a unified force and make sure that we are advocating individually, collectively, across the board to make sure that credit unions maintain that tax status. And I know the leagues, the advocacy teams within the leagues are incredibly focused on that. They're focused on that at America's Credit Unions. And we are really looking forward to being successful, but also making sure all of our credit unions are aware of what we are putting into it, and that they're as involved as they can be as well. So that's got to be priority zero for the credit union movement in 2025. So
That's a very well-rounded answer, Melissa. I know we are on top of the hour, so we'll just try to wrap up the podcast here. Again, thanks a lot, Melissa, for your time today. I really appreciate, on behalf of the Women of Community Banking podcast family and on behalf of all credit unions, that you're trying to help, and we really need people like you to go and talk and make things happen.
thank you very much. It was fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Alrighty.